The alien vessels hung in Earth's atmosphere like obsidian daggers, their hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. In downtown Chicago, office workers pressed against windows, smartphones recording the impossibility above them. 3 hours. That's all the time humanity had been given. Dr. Arun Sharma's fingers trembled as he adjusted his quantum communication device. The patterns dancing across his screen shouldn't exist, at least not according to any physics humans had documented. His colleague, Dr. Mei Lin, burst through the laboratory door. "Are you seeing this?" she gasped, her lab coat askew. "The device is responding to their transmission frequencies." Arun nodded, barely looking up. "It's like our experimental quantum entanglement sensors were calibrated for their technology without us knowing it. That shouldn't be possible." Across the world, in the Pentagon's newly established Crisis Command Center, General Maya Chen paced before wall-to-wall screens displaying the alien fleet positions. The room buzzed with controlled chaos as military personnel from every branch coordinated with their international counterparts. "Conventional missiles would be like throwing rocks at a tank," said Admiral Roges, his face grim on one of the video feeds. "Our nuclear options? Potentially useless," Chen replied. "Satellite data suggests energy shields that could withstand multiple direct hits, and even attempting nuclear options risks immediate retaliation before our 3 hours are up." The countdown clock on the central screen showed 2:43, 17 remaining. In Seattle, 16-year-old Riley Park should have been in school. Instead, the teenager sat cross-legged on a bedroom floor, 3 laptops arranged in a semicircle, each screen filled with scrolling code. Riley had been the first to notice the subtle digital patterns embedded within the aliens' global broadcast, not just a message, but executable code infiltrating Earth's networks. "It's like they're building something inside our systems," Riley muttered, fingers flying across keyboards. The teen had already isolated samples of the alien code within a secure virtual environment. It wasn't just a transmission. It was terraforming Earth's digital landscape. Back in Mumbai, Dr. Sharma's quantum device emitted a high-pitched whine as new patterns emerged. "This can't be right," he said, eyes widening. "These signatures suggest their shield technology operates on a quantum uncertainty principle. They're simultaneously solid and permeable." Dr. Lin leaned closer. "You're saying there might be a frequency where they're vulnerable?" "Possibly. But finding it would require processing power beyond anything we have accessible." At the Pentagon, General Chen received the first report from NASA's Deep Space Monitoring stations. The alien fleet had not approached from any known star system, instead seemingly emerging from empty space itself. More troubling, historical scans showed no indication of their approach trajectory, as if they had materialized from nowhere. The Situation Room fell silent as the implications sank in. An enemy that could manipulate space-time itself. "General," her aide whispered, "the President is ready for your assessment." Chen straightened her uniform and faced the camera. "How does one explain to the leader of the free world that humanity faces an enemy whose technology breaks fundamental laws of physics? That conventional defenses would be meaningless against such power." The countdown displayed 2:32:06. Somewhere in orbit, aboard the International Space Station, Commander Hassan Khalid watched Earth's night side. Normally dotted with city lights, vast regions had gone dark as power grids failed or were shut down as precautions. But something else caught his attention. Subtle energy pulses emanating from the alien ships, directed not at cities or military installations, but at seemingly random locations in oceans and remote areas. "Houston," he radioed. "I think they're looking for something specific. Something already on Earth." Dr. Sharma's discovery spread through scientific channels with unprecedented speed. Within minutes, his quantum readings were being analyzed by researchers across 6 continents. The emergency video conference, hastily assembled by General Chen, connected 37 of Earth's leading physicists, engineers, and xenobiologists on a secure channel that kept crashing under the strain. The energy signatures suggest their shields oscillate between different quantum states. Dr. Sharma explained, dark circles already forming under his eyes. There appear to be microsecond intervals where the barrier might be, for lack of a better term, permeable. A scientist from CERM leaned into her camera. If we could precisely time a counterattack during those intervals, we'd need nanosecond precision, interrupted another voice, and a delivery mechanism that could exploit the window before it closes. General Chen watched the scientists debate, the clock on her screen showing 1:47:12 remaining. Outside her office window, military helicopters crisscrossed the Washington skyline. Every defense system on the planet was now at maximum readiness, for whatever good that might do. Her secure phone buzzed. "General, we're receiving a transmission from Seattle. Some teenager claims to have infiltrated the alien communication systems. Normally we'd ignore it, but NSA is saying the kid's intel checks out." In Seattle, Riley had progressed from observing the alien code to actively tracing its pathways. What had started as a curious pattern was revealing itself as something far more significant, not just communication protocols, but something akin to a cultural archive being systematically embedded into Earth's networks. "It's like they're downloading their history," Riley muttered, scanning the partially translated data streams. "And they're terrified of something." The teen's screens displayed fragments of what appeared to be historical records, star charts, battle formations, and what could only be described as casualty reports. Most revealing were communication logs between ships, which Riley's homemade translation algorithm was beginning to decipher. "Supreme Commander, the human defenses are primitive. Conquests should require minimal resources. Do not underestimate them. The prophecies were specific about this world. With respect, your obsession with the ancient texts is clouding strategic judgment." The council grows concerned. Riley sat back, pulse quickening. The aliens weren't united. There was dissent in their ranks, leverage that could potentially be exploited. At the International Space Station, Commander Khalid had made another critical discovery. The alien ships maintained precise formation except when passing through certain regions of Earth's magnetosphere, where they exhibited minute course corrections. "They're vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies," he reported to Houston. "Nothing that would destroy them, but enough to disrupt their navigation systems momentarily." Dr. Lin, working alongside Sharma in Mumbai, suddenly straightened in her chair. The quantum fluctuations in their shields, they align perfectly with the harmonic resonance of Earth's magnetic field. That can't be coincidence. Sharma's eyes widened with realization. They chose Earth specifically because of this quantum compatibility. But why? In the Pentagon, General Chen received simultaneous reports from both the scientific team and Riley's NSA handlers. She made a decision that would later be studied in military academies for centuries. She connected them, creating an unprecedented civilian-military information hub that bypassed traditional chains of command. 1 hour and 35 minutes, she announced to the newly formed response team. "Let's find their weakness." Aboard the alien mothership, Supreme Commander Zex Toril received disturbing news. The infiltration protocols were encountering unexpected resistance from Earth's chaotic network architecture. More concerning, energy scans detected unusual quantum activity originating from multiple points around the planet. "The humans are adapting faster than projected," his science officer reported. "Perhaps we should reconsider." "Proceed as planned," Zex Toril interrupted. "They cannot possibly organize an effective defense in the time remaining. The prophecy will be fulfilled." The world had never seen cooperation on this scale. Ancient enemies shared military intelligence, rival corporations opened their servers to each other, and civilian hackers worked alongside government agencies without fear of prosecution. Humanity's fractured nature, long considered its greatest weakness, was rapidly becoming its most powerful asset against the methodical Vrakari. General Chen's makeshift command center now coordinated efforts across 17 time zones. On the main display, the countdown showed 1:22:48 remaining. "The quantum pulse prototype is ready for testing. Dr. Sharma reported via video link, his image flanked by Dr. Lin and a hastily assembled team of quantum physicists. But we have no way to deliver it close enough to the alien vessels without being detected. Leave that to us, replied Admiral Rojas. His naval battle group in the Pacific had been retrofitting submarine-launched drones with experimental stealth technology. These are prototypes meant for next-generation reconnaissance, if we can mount your device on them. Chen nodded. Do it. Meanwhile, we're receiving reports that our conventional forces are being tracked with perfect precision. They know where every missile, aircraft, and ship is positioned. Not everything, interrupted a new voice. Colonel Emerson, commander of America's network of decommissioned military bunkers, appeared on screen. The Cold War-era analog systems are completely invisible to their scanning technology. We've confirmed this at 3 separate locations. In Seattle, Riley had made an even more startling discovery. The team's improvised translation algorithm had decoded enough of the alien communications to understand not just their language, but their tactical vulnerabilities. Their ship AIs operate on a hive mind, Riley explained to the NSA handler, but the architecture is hierarchical. Each decision must be validated by the command ship before execution. If we could disrupt that validation process even for a few seconds, we could insert conflicting commands. The handler finished, but we'd need access to their communication protocols. Riley grinned, fingers flying across multiple keyboards. Already working on it. Their security is advanced but predictable, like playing chess against someone who only knows one opening move. At the International Space Station, Commander Khalid and his crew had converted their orbital platform into an observation post. Using the station's instruments in ways never intended by their designers, they mapped the energy fluctuations between alien vessels. The smaller ships must maintain constant communication with the mothership, Khalid reported. When we pass through certain regions of the magnetosphere, their formation adjusts to compensate for the interference, if multiple disruptions occurred simultaneously. In laboratories worldwide, scientists work to synthesize the findings into a coherent defense strategy. Dr. Lin's team had identified 7 specific electromagnetic frequencies that caused minimal disruptions in the alien shields. Alone, each was insignificant. Together, they might create a vulnerability. General Chen surveyed the reports flooding in. We need a synchronized global response. Every military and civilian installation capable of generating an electromagnetic pulse must be calibrated to these exact frequencies. But General, protested a Pentagon official, coordinating that many independent systems is impossible in the time we have left. Chen's expression hardened. Then we'll use the one network already connecting them, the Internet itself. Riley, can you create a distributed triggering mechanism using civilian infrastructure? Already on it, came the teen's reply. Every smartphone, Wi-Fi router, and smart device can be leveraged to amplify the signal. In orbit, the Valkyrie fleet maintained its threatening formation. Inside the mothership, Supreme Commander Zex Toril received increasingly concerning reports. The humans were not behaving according to any of their projected response models. Instead of centralized decision-making, they were exhibiting a chaotic yet strangely effective pattern of distributed problem-solving. The prophecy spoke of their adaptability, Zex Toril murmured, but I did not expect this level of coordination. Perhaps we should accelerate our timeline. The alien countdown display shifted. 1:00 remaining. The Valkyrie's first aggressive move came without warning. Targeted electromagnetic pulses disabled military satellites and communication centers across the globe. They expected chaos. Instead, as official channels went dark, humanity's response flowed seamlessly into civilian networks and improvised communication methods. They don't understand our redundancy, General Chen observed, as her team rapidly switched to backup systems. Their strategic models assume hierarchical command structures like their own. The countdown showed 57:13 remaining. In Mumbai, Dr. Sharma's laboratory had lost its primary power, but backup generators kicked in automatically. More importantly, students and faculty from across the university had gathered to assist, forming a human chain to transfer equipment to a shielded underground facility. Their jamming technology operates on predictable frequency patterns, Dr. Lin noted, analyzing the attack. They're systematically working through our known military bandwidths. But they've missed something fundamental. Sharma replied, watching as his quantum device continued functioning despite the jamming. Our technology isn't just different from theirs. It's conceptually orthogonal. Their quantum-based systems are optimized for perfect efficiency, while ours evolved through messy trial and error. This realization spread rapidly through scientific channels. The aliens' technology was indeed advanced, but it was advanced along a single evolutionary path, one that made certain assumptions about how intelligence organizes information. In Seattle, Riley had successfully created a digital sandbox mimicking the aliens' communication protocols. When military channels were jammed, the team simply switched to gaming servers, networks designed to handle massive data loads with minimal latency. Their AI is struggling to model our responses, Riley explained to the now expanded team of both government analysts and civilian hackers. It's like they've never encountered a species that uses both digital and analog technology simultaneously, or one that deliberately builds inefficient systems for redundancy. The hacker community, initially skeptical of working with government agencies, had embraced the challenge with characteristic creativity. They established alternate communication routes through everything from online gaming platforms to amateur radio networks. When the aliens jammed one channel, 3 more appeared in its place. Commander Khalid and his crew aboard the International Space Station had made another critical discovery. During their orbital passes over the planet's magnetic poles, the alien vessels exhibited momentary fluctuations in their shield harmonics. There's a resonance pattern, Khalid reported through a hastily established backup channel. Earth's magnetic field itself is interfering with their technology, especially near the poles. It's subtle, but during those microsecond disruptions, their shields are operating at reduced capacity. This information reached General Chen, just as Dr. Sharma's team completed calculations on their quantum disruption device. The coincidence was too significant to ignore. The poles, Chen said, that's where we'll deploy the pulse. If we coordinate multiple electromagnetic disturbances with the quantum device. Around the world, military forces adapted with startling speed. Special operations teams were already deploying to remote locations, carrying components of Cold War-era communication systems that remained undetectable to alien scans. Indigenous communities in the Arctic and Antarctic regions, familiar with the harsh landscapes, provided crucial guidance and support. In orbit, Supreme Commander Zex Toril grew increasingly agitated as his subordinates reported failure after failure to establish complete communication dominance. How are they still coordinating? He demanded. Our jamming covers all known military frequencies. His chief intelligence officer hesitated before responding. Supreme Commander, they appear to be using recreational networks, gaming platforms, social communication channels, even primitive radio frequencies we considered too inefficient for tactical use. For the first time since the invasion began, uncertainty flickered across Zex Toril's features. The prophecy had warned that humans were unpredictable, but this level of adaptability defied logical analysis. Perhaps the ancient warnings about this planet weren't mere superstition after all. The countdown now showed 45 o'clock exactly. Less than halfway through their allotted time, humanity had already survived the first phase of the Valkyrie assault, not through superior technology, but through chaotic, unpredictable innovation. Dr. Sharma's quantum disruption device gleamed under the laboratory's emergency lighting, a cobbled-together marvel of human ingenuity. Circuit boards from consumer electronics sat alongside custom-fabricated components rushed from university workshops across India. It wasn't elegant, but the calculations suggested it would work. The effective range is far more limited than we hoped, he explained to the global response team. We need to get within 5 kilometers of the mothership. Silence fell across the video conference. 5 kilometers might as well have been 5 centimeters. The alien vessel was surrounded by a defensive perimeter that had already vaporized 2 reconnaissance drones that ventured too close. "I'll go," came a voice from the Japanese feed. Colonel Tanaka of the Air Self-Defense Force stepped into frame. "My experimental scramjet can reach the deployment altitude in under 4 minutes, if the timing coordinates with the global E-impulse." General Chen studied the pilot's face. Calm, determined, with full awareness of what such a mission meant. The mothership's point defenses would detect and neutralize any approaching craft long before you reached deployment range. Not if they're sufficiently distracted. Admiral Rogas interjected. "If we launch a coordinated global response, they'll have to divide their attention." The countdown showed 38:42 remaining. In Seattle, Riley had progressed from simply understanding the alien communication protocols to actively manipulating them. Working with a global network of hackers, the team had created increasingly sophisticated forgeries of Rakari command signals. "We can't hack their entire system," Riley explained to the military liaison, "but we can inject enough conflicting signals to create temporary confusion. Think of it as a DDoS attack, but targeting their command validation protocols." On the International Space Station, Commander Khalid and his crew had repurposed the station's solar arrays and communication dishes to create a makeshift amplification system. It couldn't generate significant power on its own, but it could reflect and focus Earth-based signals to create a concentrated beam. "We'll have one shot as we pass over the northern magnetic pole," Khalid reported. "If your ground teams can generate the pulse at exactly that moment, we can amplify it tenfold." Across the planet, the implementation of General Chen's synchronized response took shape with astonishing speed. Military installations calibrated their electromagnetic pulse generators to the specific frequencies identified by Dr. Lin's team. Civilian infrastructure, from power grids to university physics labs, prepared to channel their energy into a coordinated surge. But it was the volunteer pilots who carried the heaviest burden. 12 of the world's best, each accepting what was likely a one-way mission. They would approach the mothership from different vectors, creating multiple potential threats. If even one reached deployment range with the quantum device. 3 minutes to mission launch, General Chen announced. The global command center fell silent, each person acutely aware of the stakes. The silence shattered as emergency alerts blared across multiple channels. On the main display, the alien countdown abruptly jumped forward. "They're accelerating their timeline," Chen's aide reported, voice tight with tension. "New projected attack initiation in 15 minutes, not 38. Aboard the mothership, Supreme Commander Zex Toril had made his decision. The humans' rapid adaptation presented an unacceptable risk. Better to begin the bombardment before their defensive measures could fully mobilize. "Commence targeting sequence," he ordered. "Prioritize their military command centers, then power generation facilities." What Zex Toril couldn't know was that humanity had anticipated this exact scenario. General Chen's actual command centers weren't where alien intelligence believed them to be. The public Pentagon war room was a carefully crafted decoy, while the real coordination happened across a dispersed network of constantly moving mobile units. "They've taken the bait," Chen observed as alien targeting systems locked onto the decoy facilities. "Launch the countermeasure. Now." Around the world, pilots climbed into cockpits, scientists activated experimental devices, and millions of civilians simultaneously altered their electronic devices to broadcast interference patterns. The greatest coordinated action in human history had begun, with under 15 minutes remaining before the aliens' weapons would fire. The Rakari weapon systems charged with a luminous blue glow visible even from the ground. Colonel Tanaka's scramjet screamed into the upper atmosphere, leading the desperate squadron of volunteer pilots. Behind them, in carefully coordinated waves, conventional fighters created a constantly shifting pattern of decoy targets. "Defensive systems activated," reported Tanaka, his voice calm despite the supersonic speeds. "They've detected us. Countermeasures deploying." Across the globe, The synchronized electromagnetic pulse activated precisely as the International Space Station passed over the northern magnetic pole. The effect was immediate, a rippling distortion visible as wavering light across the alien fleet. Their targeting systems, momentarily confused, fired scattered energy beams that missed their intended targets. "Electromagnetic interference successful," reported Commander Khalid from the space station. "We're detecting shield fluctuations across all vessels. Window of vulnerability estimated at 47 seconds. In Seattle, Riley executed the digital infiltration that had been carefully prepared over the preceding hours. The teen's fingers flew across 3 keyboards simultaneously, injecting precisely crafted command forgeries into the alien communication network. Conflicting retreat orders sent to battle groups 3 and 7, Riley reported through the emergency channel. Validation protocols showing confusion in their response hierarchy. The effects were immediately visible. Dozens of smaller alien vessels broke formation, their movements becoming erratic as contradictory commands flooded their systems. Some began calculating hyperspace jump coordinates, a process that required temporarily lowering certain shield harmonics. General Chen watched the chaotic movement with grim satisfaction. "They're dividing their defensive focus. Colonel Tanaka, you have your window." The scramjet pilot adjusted course, diving toward the momentarily vulnerable mothership. The quantum device, strapped to what had once been a hypersonic missile casing, was primed for manual deployment. Around him, defensive energy beams sliced through the sky, catching 2 of his squadron members in direct hits that left nothing but dispersing particles. At Mumbai University, Dr. Sharma monitored the quantum harmonics with growing alarm. "The device needs more power than we calculated. The mothership's shields are adapting to our disruption frequency." Dr. Lin quickly recalibrated their models. "Without additional power, the disruption will only last seconds, not minutes." The message reached Colonel Tanaka with 11 minutes remaining on the alien countdown. Without hesitation, he made the only possible decision. "Diverting all power from life support and return systems to the device," he reported. "Deployment trajectory locked." His aircraft systems began shutting down one by one as power was channeled to the quantum disruptor. The scramjet, now little more than an unpowered projectile carrying its precious cargo, continued on pure momentum toward the mothership. Aboard that vessel, Supreme Commander Zex Toral faced a cascade of system failures unlike anything in recorded Vrakari military history. His communication network swarmed with conflicting orders that his authentication systems couldn't properly filter. Shield harmonics fluctuated unpredictably as Earth's reinforced magnetic field created quantum interference patterns no simulation had predicted. The prophecy was correct, he murmured as reports of fleet disarray poured in. "They are more dangerous than their technology suggests." His science officer's voice carried an unfamiliar emotion. "Fear. Supreme Commander, human aircraft approaching at extreme velocity. Our point defenses are not responding coherently." On the ground, civilians worldwide participated in an unprecedented act of electronic defiance. Following instructions distributed through emergency broadcasts, social media, and messaging apps, hundreds of millions simultaneously adjusted their device settings to broadcast signals on the frequencies Dr. Lin had identified as disruptive to alien communications. The individual signals were insignificant. A smartphone could generate only the tiniest electromagnetic pulse. But together, they created a global electronic storm that further confused the aliens' already compromised systems. Colonel Tanaka's oxygen reserves dwindled as his aircraft closed the final distance. The quantum device's power indicator glowed bright green, charged beyond its design specifications with every joule of energy his craft could provide. "For Earth," he whispered, pressing the deployment sequence as the mothership filled his view. The quantum disruption device attached to the mothership's hull with a magnetic clamp, its activation sequence initiating milliseconds after contact. For a breathless moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then a ripple of energy expanded outward from the point of attachment, visible as a distortion that warped light itself. In command centers across Earth, sensors registered a massive surge in quantum fluctuations centered on the alien flagship. The effect cascaded through the Valkyrie fleet's neural network, creating system disruptions that multiplied exponentially. "It's working," Dr. Sharma exclaimed, watching the readings spike across his monitors. "The quantum interference is destabilizing their command protocols faster than they can adapt." On the digital battlefront, Riley's coordinated hack reached critical mass at the perfect moment. The team's falsified retreat commands, initially flagged as suspicious by alien security protocols, suddenly gained system-wide validation as the mothership's authentication servers suffered catastrophic quantum disruption. Nearly a third of their fleet is initiating emergency hyperspace calculations, reported a breathless NSA analyst. They think they're receiving legitimate retreat orders from command. The confused alien vessels began powering up their hyperspace engines, a process that required temporarily diverting energy from their defensive shields. In that moment of vulnerability, Earth's military forces launched their carefully prepared counterstrike. Experimental high-energy weapons, projects deemed too unstable for conventional warfare, fired in perfect synchronization from sites around the globe. General Chen watched the incredible scene unfold on her command screens. "Focus all fire on the mothership. Now's our chance." The concentrated energy beams converged on the mothership's compromised shields. Where the quantum device had attached, the shield harmonics collapsed entirely, creating an expanding weak point. Beam after beam struck the exposed hull, each impact triggering cascading failures throughout the massive vessel. In orbit, Commander Khalid and his crew witnessed the mothership's primary power grid falter. Sections of the vessel went dark in succession, internal explosions visible through suddenly transparent portions of the hull. "The primary command vessel is critically damaged," Khalid reported, his voice tight with controlled excitement. Secondary explosions indicating systematic power failure. Aboard the crippled mothership, Supreme Commander Zex Toril stood amidst chaos. Emergency lighting bathed the command center in crimson as systems failed around him. Warning klaxons blared, then fell silent as power fluctuated. How? He demanded of no one in particular. How could a species with such primitive technology coordinate an attack of this complexity? His communication officer, voice shaking, delivered the final blow to Valkyrie confidence. "Supreme Commander, we've lost secure connection with 38% of the fleet. They're initiating unauthorized hyperspace jumps." Zex Toril watched helplessly as his invasion force began to disintegrate. The carefully orchestrated attack, planned across centuries of Valkyrie strategic doctrine, had been undone in less than 3 hours by a species they had grossly underestimated. In a last desperate gambit, he barked his final order. "All remaining vessels, commence bombardment immediately. Target population centers, ignore military installations." But the command chain had broken down beyond repair. Some ships received the order but couldn't execute without confirmation from now disabled authorization protocols. Others, caught in Riley's web of digital misinformation, interpreted the command as a complex deception from human forces. In the Pentagon's actual command center, a mobile facility buried deep beneath the Appalachian Mountains, General Chen watched as the alien attack formation dissolved into disarray. "They're breaking apart," she reported to the Emergency Council of World Leaders. "Individual vessels are either retreating or continuing to fight without coordination." The remaining pilots of the volunteer squadron, having completed their decoy mission, regrouped to engage isolated alien craft that still posed a threat. Using the tactics developed over the past frantic hours, they exploited the now-known weaknesses in Valkyrie targeting systems. Dr. Lin's voice broke through on the command channel. "General, the quantum cascade is approaching critical threshold. When it reaches peak amplitude..." Her words were drowned out by a blinding flash as the mothership's power core finally succumbed to the cascading failures. 3 hours and 17 minutes after their arrival, the last functional Valkyrie vessels vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only their crippled mothership in low Earth orbit. The massive craft, now powerless and drifting, represented both humanity's greatest victory and most valuable prize. International teams mobilized immediately. Space agencies that had competed for decades now collaborated to reach the disabled vessel before its orbit degraded. Within hours, the first boarding parties, specialized military units equipped with hastily adapted spacesuits, entered the alien craft through breaches created during the battle. "The interior architecture is unlike anything we've encountered," reported Colonel Vasquez, leading the initial exploration team. "But the atmosphere is breathable with minimal filtration. Most systems appear non-functional, but isolated pockets of emergency power remain." In research centers worldwide, scientists prepared to receive the technological windfall. Dr. Sharma and Dr. Lin led teams dedicated to understanding the quantum propulsion and shield systems that had, until today, seemed centuries beyond human capability. "This will advance our scientific understanding by generations, not merely years," Dr. Lin observed as the first data streams arrived from the exploration teams. But it was the Vrakari archives, discovered intact in a shielded data center within the mothership, that provided the most startling revelations. Riley, now officially employed by a hastily formed International Technology Task Force, led efforts to translate and interpret the alien historical records. They weren't conquerors by nature, Riley explained to the assembled world leaders in an emergency United Nations session. The Vrakari were themselves refugees, fleeing something they called the consuming dark, a cosmic force that destroyed their home systems. The team's findings, corroborated by multiple independent translation teams, painted a sobering picture. The Vrakari campaign of conquest across multiple star systems had been driven by desperate survival, not imperialism. Each conquered world provided resources and conscripted labor to build defenses against an approaching threat that had already devoured dozens of civilizations. Dr. Sharma, analyzing the quantum physics data recovered from the mothership, confirmed the aliens' fears were well-founded. According to these calculations, the phenomenon they fled is a specialized form of dark energy expansion, a cosmic decay that breaks down the fundamental forces holding matter together. In the secured hangar where world leaders had gathered to address the public after their victory, General Chen studied the holographic representation of the approaching threat. "How long do we have?" "Decades, perhaps a century," Dr. Lin replied. But the Vrakari had been fighting it for millennia, slowing its advance through sacrificial defensive lines across multiple star systems. The most shocking discovery came from the mothership's central chamber. There, in a single stasis pod untouched by the battle, the exploration team found a non-Vrakari occupant, a representative from one of the conquered worlds who had been advocating for alliance rather than subjugation. As the stasis field deactivated under the careful supervision of an international scientific team, the alien dignitary awoke to a reality far different from the one it had known when entering suspended animation. Its first translated words sent ripples of both hope and dread through humanity's leadership. "You have defeated them as the prophecy foretold. The Vrakari believed your world held the key to stopping the darkness, not through conquest, but through your species' unique cognitive patterns. They were right about your importance, but wrong about how to harness it." The dignitary, a tall, crystalline being whose translucent body pulsed with internal light, extended what appeared to be a data storage device. "This contains the collective knowledge of 17 civilizations, now lost to the consuming dark. The Vrakari kept this from you, believing control was necessary. I disagree. Your victory proves you must lead the Alliance freely, not through coercion." As dawn broke over a world forever changed, humanity faced an unexpected truth. They had not merely defended their planet. They had inadvertently assumed leadership in an interstellar conflict spanning millennia. The 3-hour war had been merely the opening skirmish in a much larger battle for the survival of life itself.